Wow then. It looks like we got all the facts, ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to Keyshawn Davis, Devin Haney, the WBO welterweight champion of the world, and SHAKUR Stevenson. A lot of people have been wondering what's going to happen next. Has this fight been mandated yet? When is it going to be mandated? Who's going to come first? Will the WBO allow this? Will the WBO allow that? We've got all the answers. Shout out to NAJI on CIGARTALK, who sat down yesterday with the WBO president, Gustavo Oliveira, who broke down all these questions that we got, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm going to make this as simple as possible. Starting off with the first clip that I want to show you, giving us the answer. The answers, if you don't know and want to know whether or not Keyshawn Davis and Devin Haney has been ordered already. Has that fight been mandated already by the WBO? Gustavo Oliveira has an answer for us. Here you go.
Has that fight already been mandated? Like, is that mandated already? Or is that something that's coming?
No, the answer to that question is no. It hasn't been formally mandated. Although the WBO, through its championship committee, has designated Keyshawn as the mandatory.
Well, all right. First question answered. No, the Keyshawn Davis versus Devin Haney fight has not been mandated yet. It has not been ordered yet, even though the WBO Championship Committee, which consists of four people, not dudes, even though they have designated Keyshawn Davis to be the mandatory for Devin Haney, that fight has not been ordered yet. It has not been mandated yet. Now the question is, when will it be mandated? Asked by NAJI on CIGARTALK, Gustavo Oliveira literally gives us a time frame of when this fight's going to be ordered. Check it out.
Keyshawn versus Devin Haney, when will that be ordered?
Probably by the end of this month or early July. We have to issue that negotiation letter for the mandatory.
At the end of June, early July. So what that means is that this fight will be ordered within the next 3 to 4 weeks, ladies and gentlemen. 4 weeks, I think, is pushing it. I think it's safe to say that under the next 3 weeks, the WBO will have officially ordered this fight with Devin Haney. Now, one of the questions that I seen that was out there that I had myself for the WBO and Gustavo Oliveira was, all right, what happens if Devin Haney ends up deciding to not go through with this obligation in fighting what will be the ordered Keyshawn Davis and decides to go fight SHAKUR Stevenson at 144 pounds? Will the man be automatically stripped? I'm going to show you exactly what Gustavo Oliveira says right now. But first, I'm going to give you guys a little detailed breakdown from myself. Gustavo Oliveira explained how he is not the man that selects whether or not these things get passed. That the WBO is built by a 4-person team, the championship committee, that he sends these petitions, that he sends, let's just say if Devin Haney tries to pursue that fight with SHAKUR Stevenson at 144 pounds, they, and Mr. Gustavo Oliveira, will have let the championship committee know what's going down here. And it'll be up to the championship committee to either allow Devin Haney to do this or to officially write him up. Now, if out of these 4-person team, if it's a draw or it's a tie 2-2, they can't come to a conclusion, then Mr. Gustavo Oliveira ends up making the last decision. But because the championship committee has to speak about this before making a decision, Devin Haney and his team do have a small possibility that the WBO Championship Committee will allow Devin Haney to do this. But it's very, very unlikely, says Mr. Gustavo Oliveira. He couldn't specifically give us an actual answer whether or not, if Devin Haney and his team decide to pursue this through the WBO, and because he says he has to give the facts. And at the end of the day, the WBO Championship Committee will end up deciding that. But based off of his experience with the WBO, He says it's very, very, very unlikely. Check this out.
But
Yeah.
hypothetically, if Team Haney says, after you send them the notice that says, hey, Keyshawn's your mandatory, you got to fight him, blah, 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 and they tell you, Gustavo, you know what? We actually want to pursue a fight with Shakur Stevenson.
Yeah.
So we're going to pursue that fight at 144. Hypothetically, if that were to happen, now the WBO would say, okay, that's fine, but now we have to strip you of that belt if that's what if that's the decision you want to make.
I don't know, because I'm not sure what the committee will rule. I don't make the decision. If that scenario arises, the only thing that I can recommend to the committee, championship committee, you need to proceed in accordance with the rules and the policies, right?
Okay, so theoretically, there's a possibility that the WBC, or excuse me, I said WBC, WBO can rule and say, you know what, we're not going to strip him. We'll allow that fight to happen. Theoretically, that is possible.
Theoretically possible, but highly unlikely.
Oh, okay. Theoretically possible, highly unlikely.
Because remember, I've been working the BO for 10 years. It's my second year as president, but I've seen how we operate, and we're consistent. We're consistent in our rules, the way we operate, the way we conduct ourselves. And when there's a ruling already rendered, we go forward, because it would be inconsistent.
It's highly unlikely, though, says Gustavo Oliveira, saying that he's been working for the WBO long enough and they have got to be consistent with the rules. So if anything happens where Devin Haney is allowed to face Shakur Stevenson and the WBO Championship Committee allows us to go through, then that's a slight form of corruption. Let's be real. Now, that's if that happens. There's a possible chance, but it's very, very, very unlikely, says Mr. Gustavo Oliveira. Now, another possible thing that we all thought about was, y'all seen what the WBA did with Rolly Romero when SHAKUR Gayazov, who was the mandatory to face Rolly Romero, was trying to press the issue to get that fight. Y'all seen them elevate Rolly Romero to super champion, allowing Rolly Romero to not be forced into facing SHAKUR Gayazov, his mandatory. They ended up setting up SHAKUR Gayazov to face Jack Catterall for the regular WBA title, right? Y'all remember that, right? That was with the WBA. Wow, with the WBO, Mr. Gustavo Oliveira says that's not possible here. Under this jurisdiction, it is not possible. He must face Keyshawn Davis. That is his obligation, and that is what must happen. Check this out.
Yeah.
Is there an exemption or, or super champion status that can be allowed to make that fight happen? Is there like, if Devin can become a super champion, so you can allow that fight without being stripped? Is that possible?
No, at this stage, at this juncture, it cannot be allowed as an exception because there's a mandatory pending. You get me?
So once the mandatory is pending, there's no exemptions allowed after that.
No, because the mandatory has to be discharged, and there has been a ruling. As of now, what I can confirm is that Haney has to discharge his mandatory against Keyshawn. Let's say, for example, Devin would disregard his obligation to discharge the mandatory. I can confirm that the administrative process that would follow, the committee would issue what it's called a show cause notice for failure to comply with a mandatory obligation.
But as of now, says Mr. Gustavo Oliveira, Devin Haney must discharge of his mandatory in Keyshawn Davis. If not, like we said, the WBO Championship Committee will be involved, and then we'll have to see what decision they make then. It's very unlikely that they allow Devin Haney to, go through with something like this. It would be absolutely bad, especially with Gustavo Oliveira just doing this interview and explaining that to us. So that doesn't seem like it's going to happen, bro. Devin Haney is forced to fighting Keyshawn Davis. And if there's any reason why he's allowed to face Shakur Stevenson first before facing his mandatory obligation, then it is corruption. There is no chance here for Devin Haney to become a super champion. There is no petition that Bill Haney and these guys could write to the WBO to be able to get that super champion status to be able to avoid this fight. All they can do if they want is write a petition to the WBO and try to get the Shakur Stevenson fight first before Devin Haney. The WBO Championship Committee will get together, and based off what Gustavo Oliveira just said, bro, it does not seem possible at all unless corruption comes into play here. So y'all heard it, bro. Devin Haney and Bill Haney have up to 2 to 3 weeks before this fight gets ordered. And at the end of the day, it looks like they're forced to fighting Keyshawn Davis next, or the man will be stripped. That's just how it is, ladies and gentlemen. If he decides not to go through with this fight, Devin Haney will be stripped. Unless corruption comes into play. But let me know what you guys think, man. Absolutely breaking news. We got all the details when it comes down to this. Now we're just waiting for the date that this fight is ordered. My goodness. This is the MMA Boxing Addict channel reporting to you. Shout out to CIGARTALK. Shout out to NAJI. Great stuff. I'm out.